Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Barbarian and this is number 70 of the Crusader Kings III dev diaries. Today we have the facts about artifacts, and this is an interesting dev diary, not just because of its content that is quite descriptive and rather informative when it comes to how artifacts work, what their features are, how the creation process is and whatnot, but also because they do address that, well, basically, I mean, if you think about it, today is the 24th of August. In just a couple of days, or rather in just a week, we have the 1st of September, and that is the initial release date of Crusader Kings III, and so far, I mean, we've had a couple of updates, we had a bunch of updates, but we've only had one proper expansion, in that case a normal DLC, that was the Northern Lords. And now we're looking at this and it's just like, you know, we don't have anything else yet. And of course, this isn't really how we are used to it when it comes to updates, when it comes to the long-term support of these grand strategy games. This will not be coming out, you know, after 12 months have passed, and that is a lot of time without any major updates. So yeah, let's take a look at what they have to say about that, where they're coming from in that angle. Now, before we go into the dev diary itself, let's just take a look at the Italian spear and the Sinhala sword. This one gives you prowess +3, stress gain -20%, pretty decent. 50 years is how long this item will last, so the durability, and the current holder is the Duchess Matilda of Tuscany. You can see this is has a brown text on the top, we're going to get to that in a second, and it is also framed in a, well, a brownish, sort of greyish background area, a long spear of fine craftsmanship. The wrought iron head is mounted on an elegant fir shaft that has been varnished to give it a rich dark shine. Alright, quite decent. The Sinhala sword is prowess +6, so double the prowess. Army gold maintenance -9%, knight effectiveness +15%, and the duration is 99 years. Now both are full, so both are at the start of their durability lifetime. This one is held by Raja Vijayabahu of Vijayabahu. A wood steel sword of masterful craftsmanship. The hilt is engraved to display mythological beasts, albeit simplified, and the blade is etched to display the words learning without greed. This one I want to bring your attention to because it has a blue background, and I assume that that is basically its artifact level. We're gonna get to the artifact level in a second, but it clearly has better artifact effects than the Italian spear. Let's just keep that in mind. This one is about artifact generation. One of the goals we had for artifacts in CK3 was to ensure that the artifacts your ruler acquire will truly feel distinct from one another. Artifact features. All artifacts in the game can have a set of features that determine both how they were created as well as what they were made from. For example, oak, ash, and pine are all features of the wood type, which is used to make wooden furniture, spear shafts, book covers, etc. While engraved, filigreed, and painted are decoration type features, which skilled craftspeople can use to decorate artifacts to make them more suitable for royalty. So we have that right here. The Italian spear is fairly primitive in comparison to the Sinhala sword. Of course, the Italian spear is still a worthwhile artifact, but the Sinhala sword seems to be significantly superior when it comes to the craftsmanship that has been employed. The main use of features is to create immersive descriptions for the artifact. Whenever a new artifact is created, such as from an inspiration, it will gain a set of appropriate features based on various factors, including culture, geography, craftsmanship, quality, wealth of the capital city, and event decisions made during the creation process. I especially, of course, I mean, I love culture, I love the craftsmanship quality, I love the wealth in general, but that has already been employed in CK2. I really do like geography and capital city on top of that. The wealth of the capital city having influence here really is interesting to me, because it makes it so that it makes sense even more than it already does to build up your capital with the development progress. These features are then used by the artifact's description to emphasize any distinctive characteristics that it has. Note that these features will not be represented in the 2D and 3D art of the artifact, as we have a far more varieties of features than we could reasonably produce art for. Alright, let's take a look at this. We have the Masterwork Spear, so this is green. Right, okay, so if I look at this, this doesn't really follow MMO ranking. At least not the MMOs that I play. I've never played World of Warcraft. Maybe this is how World of Warcraft does it, but usually green comes before blue, but I think Masterwork may sounds better. Honestly, I'm not sure. Looking at the features, right? Prowess +6, gold maintenance -9%, knight effectiveness. I think Famed is actually... I do think Famed is better than green, which is odd. Just, I don't know, Famed doesn't sound as good as Masterwork, but then again, Famed could be a Masterwork plus, basically. But yeah, anyway, let's move on to the Masterwork Spear here. This is a Hausa Spear. Prowess +5 and control territory defend advantage +3 is pretty decent. A long spear of very fine craftsmanship. The wrought iron head is mounted on an elegant fleroya shaft that has been carved in delicate wavelets to reduce slippage when wielding it. You know what, I'll be honest with you, no, I do think, yeah, Masterwork must be worse than Famed. So we have brown, green, and then blue. Simple sword is the brown sword, yeah, pretty mediocre. Prowess plus 4, control territory, defender advantage plus 1, so you can see this one is significantly better than the sword. A wrought iron sword of fine craftsmanship. The pommel is shaped in a series of rounded lobes and inlaid with copper. Alright, Italian spear, we've already seen this one. The Sinhala sword we've already also seen. So, yeah, I definitely would say famed sword is better than brown. And then we have the masterwork mace, or the masterwork spear. You know, it appears that famed is better than those masterworked works. Famed dagger, King Sven's dagger. Gives you prowess plus 4, intrigue per stress level plus 1, personal scheme power plus 10. I wonder... It is kind of funny to think about that. A dagger makes you better at scheming. Maybe this is basically something that instills fear. You know, maybe you've murdered a lot of people or many people with this dagger. Now people just say, yeah, this is King Sven's dagger. Don't screw with him or the people that, you know, come beneath him. Or after him. A folded iron dagger of excellent craftsmanship. The grip is covered in an electrum helix inlay, and the blade is etched to display relief of symbols tied to Danish culture. Definitely this A needs to be an N, but yeah, anyway, interesting. Okay, so this one is even a folded iron dagger, quite interesting. And then we have the masterwork mace, Italian mace. This one is not equipped. Click to equip simple mace. I think this must be, this must be a bit of a work in progress sort of situation. This is clearly not a simple mace. Prowess plus 4, army gold maintenance minus 9%, and 99 years is how long it lasts. I would argue that the famed dagger is without a doubt better than the Italian mace. So we do have brown, green, blue, and I wonder whether there is golden or yellow for legendary somewhere. Still pretty good. Army gold maintenance goes down, prowess goes up. A flanked mace of fine craftsmanship. The wrought iron head has been etched to feature different Catholic motifs and then mounted on a solid wrought iron handle. I guess that the legendary level at this point would be family heirlooms, which of course we do know exist. I don't think we really talk about this here, but yeah, look at this, quite interesting when it comes to the options that we have here. I really like that it is depicted in a very, you know, straightforward way. Obviously, yeah, okay, these are all blue, this is all going on, this is all the same, yeah, the color of the spear changes, but truly the nature of this symbol isn't different. But of course, what is really important here is that, you know, the description of the items differ, because based on what where they were crafted, because at the end of the day, when it comes to these symbols, you don't want something that is, you know, hard to read. This is easy to read. Obviously, this one looks worse than the Hausa spear. Obviously, this one looks worse than the Sinhala sword. And quite obviously, you can see the difference between the masterwork mace and the famed dagger just in the background, much like you can for everything else. And I do think this is important, clarity, you know, making it clear what is what and why it is that. So I would argue that it is pretty okay that it is in the description at the very least. When it comes to the differences, you know, of where it was crafted, when it was crafted, who crafted it, and so on and so forth. The thing I love about the system is not just that it will generate and display differences between the two different axes your ruler commissions from a blacksmith, it is that those differences will be even more pronounced between artifacts created in the different regions of the world. This means artifacts that you loot from your defeated foes while on crusade or during overseas raids will be far more distinct from other artifacts in your treasury, serving as memento of the great distances you or your ancestors traveled on their journeys. Of course, we have many types of artifacts apart from weapons, and some of the material and craftsmanship differences become truly pronounced when you start looking at the type of artifact that are created explicitly for rulers to show off with. For example, a crown crafted in Afghanistan might feature pieces of its legendary lapis lazuli, I believe that is how I pronounce it, lazuli, while one made in the Baltic regions could instead feature an impressive chunk of amber as a centerpiece. Different varieties of gemstones, cloth, lumber, shells, and animal horns. The range of possible combinations is truly vast. Maharaja's Jahasimas about diplomacy. So this is a book. This is a normal book, so fairly, maybe a stupid character that wrote that book. It's not that good. Prestige plus 0.1. Okay, monthly diplomacy lifestyle experience is very good. A fancy book that shows a deep understanding of diplomacy as it details art of feasting. The cover is silver, displaying a repeating image of a zoomorphic motif. Oh my god, I read zoomer then. I was like, why are the zoomers in this? Enunciated by the placement of moonstones. Quite nice. Okay. Then we have a green one, a masterwork head. Ghaznavid crown. Prestige 0.4 per month, Prestige per night 0.1 per month, and courtier and guest opinion plus 15. Can we just talk about how much this actually is? If you have like 11, 15 knights, which is a lot, I know that, right? But still, that is like, we're talking about 2 to 3 prestige here, basically. This is Sultan Ibrahim of Ghaznavid's crown, a fancy crown of fine craftsmanship. The crown is forged from silver and set with small pieces of lapis lazuli, if that is how you pronounce it. Canada Regalia. So the Canada are Indian as well. This is also famed regalia. Prestige 0.5 per month. So this is better than the masterwork headgear, at least in theory, and I mean in practice as well. Monthly renown plus 15%. Short reign duration minus 30%. And attraction opinion plus 15. This is a really good artifact. So yeah, at the end of the day, I do really like what we have here. That the famed regalia is clearly so much better than the masterwork head. An extravagant regalia set of masterful craftsmanship. It consists of a gold scepter set with pieces of spinel, fine velvet robes that have been embroidered with gold, and a large spinel cabochon necklace. I don't think I pronounced that correctly, but don't worry about it. Then we have the Chieftain's Milo's Crown. Prestige 0.6 per month, prestige per night, alright, classic effect. An independent ruler opinion plus 8. That is pretty okay, I guess. If this was vassals, I would say really good, but now it's like mediocre to okay. Who cares about independent rulers? Come on now. An elegant crown of excellent craftsmanship. The crown is forged from gold and adorned with intricate filigree that frames a large amber centerpiece. So this must be Baltic. Then we have the simple goblet. This is a pedestal item. Prestige 0.3 per month. Hostile scheme resistance plus 4. It's pretty decent actually. Court grandeur base point plus 1 is actually not that great, but that's fine. A trinket goblet of fine craftsmanship. It is made of bone with jasper inserts. Interesting. And a large wall ornament. King Sven's tapestry. Prestige 0.4 per month. Court grandeur base 0.3 plus 3. And then a large velvet tapestry of excellent craftsmanship. The cloth depicts a court hearing. King Sven sits majestically at the center of the scene, while vassals, emissaries, defeated enemies, and servants wait in line to pay homage. Interesting. Very interesting. Obviously, for these up here, you have only one slot each. You need to equip this, and when you equip this, you can't have a different weapon. But for these, you can have multiple ones. You can have a book as a pedestal, on the pedestal. You can have the crown that you wear. You can have the scepters that you have. You can have the trinkets, so the goblet or the tapestry, for example, equipped as well. So these, yeah, the effects might not be as impressive as they can be up here, you know, when it comes to the topic of army gold maintenance. Knight effectiveness plus 15%. But you can have multiple one of these, and let's talk about that actually, how they balance the modifiers. As you probably noticed in the above screenshots, every artifact has a set of character modifiers which are applied to their owner whilst they have them equipped. Unlike in CK2, there are no slotless artifacts, so in order to gain any benefit from owning an artifact, you must have it equipped in one of your personal slots. Weapon, armor, regalia, crown or trinket, or court slots, so lectern, throne, wall hanging, etc. By ensuring that you can only have a set number of artifacts benefiting a character at once, it becomes much easier for us to balance artifacts and avoid the massive bonuses characters could gain in CK2 by accumulating vast libraries of forgotten lore, new inventions, and piles of statues. So, obviously this is a good step. Fundamentally, this is a good step. Because if you think about it, in CK2, it was pretty insane. You would gather books, you would gather just general artifacts, yeah, that you would have lying around. You would never look at them again, and I mean, the books you still need to equip, if I'm not mistaken, at least most of them. Haven't played CK2 in a while. But I will say, it is a better approach so that you can't stack them like crazy. But I will say that this still does make it quite top-heavy. And by that I mean that if you look as a king or as an emperor at your artifact selection, you have these massive court slots. You have lectern, throne, wall hanging, etc. And they are not trivial. Prestige 0.4 per month. Court grandeur base of course only means something to you, but still gives you an additional bonus. Then the pedestal item is 0.3 per month, and that is, we're talking about just normally here, right? 0.7 per month from these two items that dukes and counts cannot access. Yeah, and I will say, I'm not entirely certain how much I like that, because this expansion really is a bit of a pro-snowball expansion, and don't get me wrong here, where it adds things that are really good. I enjoy much or most of the things that we are seeing here, but I will say that we are being it's a bit scuffed for counts and dukes, right? Because you're looking at a situation where you can't even equip most of these, and if you're powerful, you're just going to be more powerful. None of these artifacts, at least the court artifacts, will help you if you are not powerful, and I think, I don't know, I really, really wish that we hadn't such a heavy, top-heavy focus in this expansion. Even then, I will say, again, the expansion is actually really, really good when it comes to the content that we are getting, but again, it's primarily content for people that are higher up. Now, of course, you can equip weapons, crowns, and so on, you know, even if you are not somebody that is a king or an emperor, but still, yeah, I really hope that sooner rather than later, when they have this system in place, we will be looking at that system being utilized for even more. So, you know, for the counts and the dukes. It would be quite nice, at least from my point of view. One guiding principle we used while designing these artifact modifiers is the no overtly supernatural effects rule that guided us during the base game's development. For example, a masterfully forged weapon granting prowess is straightforward and sensible, as characters fight better with a good weapon in hand. That same weapon boosting advantage or army gold maintenance is maybe less obvious, but can still be explained by serving as a symbol of hope and inspiration for the soldiers in an army and boosting their morale. Something like no penalty for crossing rivers is nonsensical for an artifact weapon though. We are not giving rulers access to the equivalent of a fully functional staff of Moses. Modders, of course, can add whatever modifiers they wish to add. Hey, that's pretty good, I like that. Okay, fair enough. I mean, they've had this principle right for a while now, so I've never been an enemy of this. I do think if we do get supernatural stuff, it should be a big focus, and it shouldn't be as comically evil as the devil worshippers were. They were always a bit ridiculous. Historical artifacts and trinkets. Of course, not all artifacts will be artisanal masterpieces. The important thing for artifacts is that they are meaningful to their owner in some way. This meaning doesn't need to be purely economic or functional. Instead, some artifacts may have great historical value despite a plain appearance, such as Charlemagne's throne. I'm a big fan of the fact alone that we can have thrones, but Charlemagne's throne, of course, that is an oh yeah, I like it. Other artifacts might only hold sentimental values, such as a good luck charm or a locket given to you by your lover which reduces stress. Finally, some artifacts may instead be relics of a rather dubious provenance, yet still useful for those who believe in their power, or at least claim to. A peddler in a cloak with dozens of baubles and knickknacks soon onto it rattles up to me. You strike me as a seasoned collector. She pulls you... She pulls out and opens a battered chest brimming with bones from every limb imaginable. I can't read today. I have some of the rarest saintly finger bones, even foiled in gold. They are sold as singles, but I will grant a special price for a full set of 10. So this is why so many peasants have 9 fingers nowadays. Finger bones of a saint, all 11 of them. Bad artifact, obviously. Many people may not believe that this is a real artifact, but the people that do believe give you 0.1 piety per month. That is quite nice. King Harold of England bought this, but he believes it is something else, but I like the idea. Especially the idea that your lover can give you trinkets that might not be worth much, but might be worth a lot to your character, because primarily it adds something in terms of roleplay, and I am a big fan of this. Now let's talk about where the DLC is. Where is it? I mean, where is the DLC? It's been some time. Work on the Royal Court expansion is progressing, and it's looking better each day that passes. Now we want to be upfront and say that it's going to take longer than many of us expect for the expansion to be released. I would guess that their original plan, and I don't know anything, I want to stress that as well. I don't have any secret information about this. But I would guess that their original plan was indeed to release this at the latest at the anniversary of CK3. Now this will not be the case. Instead, we're looking at a situation where this will be released at a later point. There are many reasons for this. The expansion is very technically challenging, and we're doing things we've never done before from the ground up. We want a Royal Court that looks as grand as the mechanics that support it. I will say, hey, I am starved for content. Don't get me wrong. I am starved for the long-term support that we know for these grand strategy games. It's a big part of why I am a fan of these games. Why I'm a fan of Paradox compared to other companies. With other companies, you get a game, and that's it, and then they move on to a different game. We talked about this ages ago, because they can't finance supporting the current game because there aren't enough people in the player base. Now, I support Paradox for being able to support the same game, but more than a year for the first big expansion is a damn long time, right? That is an incredible time. I will say what they're doing with the Royal Court is entirely new. The coherence of the features that they are creating here is entirely different as well, mechanically speaking. And of course, I mean, we're looking at so many 3D depictions. Let's take a look at that in a second. Don't worry, we're going to take a look at it. I get that this is more than they have ever done. But man, I'd be lying to you if I told you that I wasn't quite unhappy with it being a year past and the Royal Court hasn't come out yet. We've also had the recent organizational changes that affect how we work. As many of you know, we split into 3 studios, and with change comes a period of adaptation. The team has grown significantly in recent times. A lot of time has been spent onboarding new members to the team, and we've onboarded more people than we've ever have before. While it may have a negative short-term impact, it's definitely going to be a solid investment for the future of CK3, not only for the release of the Royal Court, but also our future expansions and beyond. Of course, the extended period of working from home makes things take longer than expected. This is something we have touched on before due to how the working conditions have been recently. I hope, I really, really hope, that the quality that the royal court certainly looks like, that the coherence and that the complexity and that the ambition, in this case the inclusion of these huge 3D features, I hope that this will be something that will be carried forward in quality and in complexity and everything in future expansions, and I really hope that this is indeed correct, and future expansions that are like this will be available quicker than the Royal Court. Now don't get me wrong here again, Northern Lords was a good DLC, you and the others, of course, did a great work on it, but or did a great job on it, but I will say, yeah, no, I'm starved. I know I'm not the only one, I'm certainly starved, and I will say, if this has the positive impact, if we don't have to look at over a year for the next expansion, if we're looking at, I don't know, 6 months, you know, something like that, that sounds a bit more realistic to me at the very least. I'm not a game developer, haven't worked in the industry, I'm not certain, but I gotta tell you, that's the time frame that I, as a fan, am looking forward to, basically, right? So you get, maybe like every 3-4 months, you get a small DLC, and then the expansions come in between 6 or 9 months, something like that would make me significantly happier. Well... and waiting for over a year. Rest assured that we are still working as hard as we can and things are progressing nicely, and we are aiming for roughly for a release later this year. I can't read, seriously. Later this year. I am hoping November. Honestly, I don't think it's gonna be September. I don't think it's gonna be August. I think we're talking about Q4 and either November or December. I hope not December, because the issue with December releases is that nobody works starting at the 23rd, roughly around there, maybe even earlier, and then they get back into office around the 6th of January, for example, right? So there's a lot of time there where bugs couldn't be ironed out, and that is bad. Ah, man, yeah, I feel so... Tell me how you feel about it. I feel like I can't be the only one that feels like this, right? Where I essentially feel like, man... I would really enjoy... Obviously, this DLC, this expansion looks great. But like, 12 plus months is an insane amount of time. Right? Am I the only one that feels that way? How do you feel about this? For now, we'll leave you with this little extra teaser. Let's take a look at it. Royal Court of the King of West Francia. Court Grandeur, level 4. Okay, this is the throne room. This looks like the artifact room. And this, I'm not sure. It looks like holding an audience. But I do see down here, do you see the hold court button there? So I'm not entirely certain yeah, where this comes from, but you can see the banners right here, you can see the people standing, this one has a mask, I love that so much. You can see the artifacts, we got 4 of them, we got a book, we got a skull, we got a relic, so maybe this is bones of a saint, and then right here we have a bigger thing, I wonder what that actually is. We got another banner right there, then the main banner, we got some shields right there, some animals of course, we got the court priest, the marshal, the spy master, and maybe you are the stewards? But where's the diplomat? Anyway, we have the throne here. This is, of course, for your spouse. This is a great throne room. I really, really like what we have here. I just really want this to come out, man. I can't wait. I cannot wait. This looks really good. Please give us the expansion. Yeah, no, that's basically, honestly, like, today's dev diary is amazing. But I always knew, in part, internally, I knew that we would be looking at this DLC in November, December. I've said it in the Discord, I've said it on Twitter, I've said it on YouTube. But getting the confirmation, yeah, later this year, don't quite know, you know, it does make me a bit depressed. It does strike me down a bit, I will admit it. I'm not as dynamic as I usually am. But I will also say, again, if this is a long-term investment, if we're looking at a return of investment that gets greater the longer this team has been worked in, and that makes sense to me at the very least, I really hope that we will be getting expansions of this quality with so many ambitious things that they have never done before in the next expansion as well. I say this in particular with the things that were in CK2 that we didn't get in CK3 in mind. Trade. Trade in CK2, such a great vision, but the implementation was not good. I want that in CK3 with the same ambition as the Royal Court, as the artifacts. They could have just pumped in listen, they could have just sat down and pumped in artifacts from CK2. They could have done that, and I know, because I am not a friend of those artifacts, and that has gotten many people to say, hey, I disagree with you, and that's fine, I just wanted to stress that as well, but they could have done that and gotten away with it because so many people were fine with it. I wouldn't have been fine with it. I'm fine with this. I'm happy about this. But that, of course, takes time. That takes a larger team. Now, they have a larger team now. This is basically... I mean, it's way larger than it needs to be for what people wanted. Let's phrase it like this. And I hope that it will be consistent with what I expect and hope for with trade. But also with other things, such as, of course, you know, a rework of, for example, holy sites, of shrines, and so on and so forth. So many things that could be altered. Government forms, societal forms, that sort of stuff. If the same love, the same care, and the same quality is pushed into those and they come out faster, I will not feel that bad about waiting like 15 months for the first DLC. Alright, let's move on to the dev responses. There we go. What is the progress bar? Of course, that is the artifact's durability. Just wanted to put it there. You can reforge it or make it into an heirloom. We talked about that in previous dev diaries. Now, this one is interesting. What is the prowess range that a weapon can have? Maximum is +9 at the moment. Okay, subject to change. Number 4. Are artifacts located in your primary holding, or do they magically teleport with your character? Getting them through sieges seems to give impressions of having permanent locations. Unequipped and displayed artifacts are presumed to stay in your capital and can be looted in a siege. Worn artifacts are presumed to be carried on your person and cannot be looted in a siege. Fair enough. Are crowns associated with certain titles by giving you a claim, or are they just cosmetic with mentioned buffs? The team is currently investigating this. Oh baby, that would be nice. That would be great if they could be associated with a certain title like the crown of the HRE, right? That would be very nice. Was already the case in CK2 to a degree, but if we could get a bit more straightforward and directional system, because in CK2 it was sort of like, yeah, the crown could literally end up in India, they just couldn't use it there, but they had no incentive, no reason to give it to the actual title holder, and the title holder had no way of reacquiring the crown. If we could implement that, that would be dope. Number 7, any thoughts of on possibility of relics being used also to create a shrine on barony level, or just the aforementioned ones? I have in the past made a video about holy sites and why Imperator Rome does holy sites so well, and why CK2 and CK3 don't do holy sites so well. The Royal Court expansion focuses on your court rather than minor baronies, so this will not be included in the expansion. I need that feature. I need that feature. If you've watched that video, if you know how strict I am with my own conviction, how much I want these sort of things that I genuinely argue for because I genuinely believe in them, I need that feature. You will know I need that feature. Obviously, it's not going to be in this one. This is a different scope. This is out of the scope of the Royal Court, but man, I will tell you, this would be amazing. If you could actually found new holy sites by having holy objects and putting them into a bishopric, for example. Come on, I really need that. Now, this one is basically about, you know, how these interact with one another. So we have this feature. Is this DLC locked? Is this not in the DLC? How can you use artifacts? How does it go? And I have to tell you, this is big news. Artifacts are a free feature and available to everyone. This decision was made early in development for exactly the reasons that you state. It allows us to continue adding new artifacts and interactions with the artifact system in future patches. What is a paid feature are inspirations, which serve as an important way to acquire artifacts in the Royal Court, especially code artifacts. However, even without owning the DLC, we will have multiple ways to acquire artifacts with the launch of the accompanying patch. Very, very cool. If you don't have the money, if you don't want to buy the DLC, you can still interact with this basic feature. Now, much will still be locked behind the Royal Court, of course, but that makes sense. But artifacts being free is great. It's so good for mods as well. You can implement all of these features and everybody can use it. Mods will not have to be afraid to implement things that otherwise may be locked out. And none of these, I believe, were too interesting for the features, or for the purpose of this video. Thank you, Oxykun, for answering the questions, though. We talked about this in the past already with the dev diaries right there. And thank you, Baron von Schuss, for the answers there. Now, how do you all feel about it? Because I have to tell you, I really, it hurts. It hurts not having this DLC after 15 months, oh, well, 12 months. After the DLC released. 1 year, rather the game released. But I will say, I hear the arguments that they bring in with the topic of building a team, making things larger, and then having that for the next DLC ready to go, making it easier for the next one. I hope that it really is reflected in how we approach things, because man, it's been some time. Yeah, and with that, I mean, I sound more down than I really am. It's just, Thinking about the fact that we haven't had the main expansion, the first main expansion, after a year has passed, it's kind of insane. Now, with that being said, I will leave you now. I will go play some CK3 Battle Royale, and I will see you later. Alligator.